Hello everyone, my name is Kimberly Morales and my capstone is titled To Be or Not to Be Pro-Choice Within the Classroom. It's about exploring the effects of choice within assignments on student engagement and completion rates of learning tasks. Some background on why I chose this topic. During my student teaching experience, I noticed students' lack of interest and motivation. Assignments were viewed as stale and predictable. The same writing intensive assignments were being given repeatedly, and I noticed that there was a lack of interest in these particular learning tasks because they were just the same ones being given over and over. Because of that, the objective of the assignments, students started to view that as just complete the assignments, just check them off and get them done, versus learning and gaining knowledge as the objective of these assignments. Because of that, there was a lack of motivation to engage with the material, and uninterested students equaled unfinished assignments, and so there was a large number of missing assignments for each student. My research question is, how will introducing choice within assignments affect student engagement levels and completion rates of assignments? The lens which I approached this study from was self-determination theory. It places an emphasis on intrinsic motivation and completion of learning tasks as a result of interest and satisfaction in itself. It requires competence, so students have to feel that they possess the abilities to do the work. Or relatedness, they have to have some sort of connection to it. And autonomy, they have to feel a sense of control. And I chose student-centered teaching as my strategy because it also places an emphasis on student interests. And students are encouraged to develop autonomy and responsibility for their education experience. The literature review. So within this literature review regarding engagement and choice, when students are given a choice and must make a decision, they have to engage and take an active role in order to make that choice. Regarding student autonomy, students must feel that their opinions and thoughts count in order for motivation and engagement to be achieved. This can be accomplished through personal connections, interests, and choice. And regarding motivation, a responsive learning environment equals classroom activities that are reactive to student actions. So students are the ones driving the instruction, driving many of the decisions within the classroom, and this all aligns with student-centered teaching. So my study design. The study took place at a continuation high school in an urban area of the Inland Empire. Because it is a continuation school, the enrollment is smaller, about 442 students, and it's important to note that all students are credit deficient. Participants included 71 high school students. I teach a 9th and 10th grade English class. Because they are credit deficient, their chronological school year is anywhere from 10th to 12th grade, and their age ranges from 16 to 18 years old. And 92% of participants are of Hispanic American heritage. So the activity for participants, I created an assignment menu. And the way that I described it to my students was to imagine that they go to a restaurant and they're reading a menu. That's giving them all the options, all the choices that they can select from. And then it's up to them to make that choice based on their particular inclinations for that day. So I categorize these based on intelligence, multiple intelligence. And so, for instance, visual, I gave some keywords here and then a short description. Then I listed some examples of ways that they can complete the assignments. So then the assignments each week, they consisted of a focus question that changed every week. First I gave a little a prompt to activate their prior knowledge there. All the directions were the same for each assignment, and it included their focus question, which they were supposed to respond to. They were to pick one way to do the assignment from over here and answer this focus question. The required criteria was uniform for all assignments, same thing with the rubric. Methods. So the quantitative methods of data collection included the insight survey, assignment completion rates, grades, and a survey at the end asking students about their experience within the study. And then qualitative consisted of observation notes. Results. So the student learning and insight survey that I gave at the beginning, one of the most impactful questions was students were asked to rank the best ways they learn a new concept, and 47% of students ranked if I can choose how I learn about it as their first choice to learn new ideas or new concepts. Students were also asked to use a scale of 1 to 100 as to how strongly they agreed with this statement. Getting to choose the type of assignment would help me to be more interested in completing it. And the average response was 43.6% of students agreed with that statement. Some observation notes. The way that I made these observations was twice each period. I took observations, and then weekly I calculated an average. So this is a comparison between weeks 1 and weeks 4. So week 1 is about 43% working and on task, 34% on their phones, not so good, and talking and off task, 14%. And student-initiated conversations, 4%. So student-initiated conversations consisted of conversations about the content of the assignments, so not any questions about due dates or formatting, nothing like that. So in contrast, here's week 4, 67% working or on-task behaviors, 19% phone use, talking and off-task behavior 3%, and student-initiated conversations 11%. So there's a decrease in phone use of 15% and talking and off-task behaviors 11%, and an increase in working and on-task behaviors of 24%, and an increase in 11% of student-initiated conversations. So that was great. So these student behaviors contributed to assignment completion rates. There was an increase of 2.6 total completed assignments per week. So without choice, the first 4 weeks of the quarter, students had in the gradebook an average of 7.2 completed assignments. And the last 4 weeks of the quarter, there was 9.8 on average completed assignments per student. Looking at the number of missing assignments, the total number of missing teacher-administered assignments averaged 5.23 missing. And looking at just the student selected, so once choice was introduced, there was less than 1 missing assignment per student on average. So looking at grades, this is the culminating assessment of student engagement and assignment completion rates. So the average grade was 64.38% in the class. That increased by 4.36% by the end. 31 of 63 students increased their final grade percentage, so about 49% of students, so almost half, increased their final grades by an average of 27.92%. So that was a huge jump. And 58% of students passed the class, which is fantastic for this demographic of students. I did want to note that there were 8 students' data were removed due to severe chronic truancy or absence. And I did this to avoid inaccurately weighting the data. So these were students who never showed up to class or never turned in a single assignment. Some impactful results from the classwork and assignment perception survey. Students were asked to use a Likert scale to select their responses to statements about their experience in the study. The first one, having a choice in the types of assignments I did helped me to be more invested in doing the work. 93% of students agreed with this statement. And the most powerful one, I think, for me, was this one. Students were asked what level agreement they had to the statement. Having a choice in the types of assignments I did made me feel more in control of my learning. And 100% of students agreed with this statement, which was awesome. Some limitations included unfamiliarity with the format of assignments. There's definitely a learning curve at first. Students weren't really sure what to do when I told them to choose, that it was up to them how they wanted to complete the assignment. So that took about a week for them to catch on. Fatigue, it was the latter half of the quarter, so students were feeling a little burnt out at times. Impending final grade submission. In some students, there was a boost in motivation because they realized that the final grades were coming up. And then student-teacher relationship. This could be a positive one. A lot of students expressed that they wanted to do well in the class for me, to make me look good to administration, which is extremely flattering, and I love my students, so that was fantastic. That was a result of the connection that we had. But this could also be seen as a limitation. And future plans. I plan to integrate student choice into instruction as much as is feasible within each unit, whether that be through input into the strategies I use or classroom routines. I can solicit students' input to engage them. I want to continue to provide opportunities for students to practice decision-making skills and to develop methods for motivation. Students are encouraged to develop a level of autonomy and responsibility for their education experience. I want to foster independent problem solving and lifelong learning. Ideally, I want these skills to translate to other subjects and other areas of their lives as well. I also want to ensure that instruction includes meaningful exploration of student thoughts, opinions, and interests. I'm more concerned about students engaging with the content and forming independent thoughts and opinions rather than right or wrong answers. I feel like the subject of English is great because there is a lot of room for interpretation and subjectivity. And I plan on researching how to further implement choice and facilitate student autonomy within the classroom. I want to be able to learn from other teachers and collaborate with them on ways to provide opportunities for increased student autonomy within my classroom. Well, thank you for watching. I want to congratulate everyone, and God bless you on your journey to work in the lives of His children.